As Hans Olsen has moved on to the corporate world, we're looking for the next great Utah sports radio talent.
There's something for everyone.
While we do that, you get stuck with this guy.
Hey, everybody, here's our star.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. It's another edition of the show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, folks, there are certain times of the year that you cannot screw up, all right? And we can call it, like the Grand Slam of golf, all right? You've got your Masters, you got your PGA Championship, you got the British, you got the U.S. Open. Those are the big four. Well, you have a big four when it comes to certain holidays that you absolutely cannot screw up. Number one, Valentine's Day. That's top of the list. You cannot screw up Valentine's Day. You can also not screw up Christmas. You're going to have an anniversary in there somewhere, and you're going to have a birthday in there. Those are your big four, okay? You cannot absolutely not screw those up. Well, guess what? There is one way I can absolutely guarantee you will not screw up Valentine's Day. I get it. You're a dude. You've waited too long, and now you're going to run to a grocery store and buy some wilted roses like, hey, baby, how about these? No, don't. No. That's not going to work for you. You're going to be on the couch, and you're going to be miserable. Your back's going to hurt the next day. It's not going to go your way. So what I want you to do is go to Minky Couture right here in Layton. Now, you can go to any of the Minky Couture locations up and down the Wasatch Front. But this one in particular, okay, we're a little partial because Lisa's awesome and the cruise up here is incredible. So you come here, and we will hook you up. We got all kinds of goodies. We got some freebies. And we'll also give you 55% off these blankets. That's right. Now, normally you're going to get 50 leading up to Valentine's Day, but because Sandy, Lisa, the rest of the crew are really kind to you because they know you're a dude and you've screwed up too many Valentine's Days in the past, they want to help you out and give you 55% off these blankets. Again, we're in Layton. Now, here's the other secret, too. That 55% is going to work at all the Minky Couture locations. So if you're down south, I totally understand it. If you're up north, by the way, Logan's got a beautiful Minky Couture location. I was driving on Main Street coming off of the game last night when Utah State got that win. So there's a lot of great Minky Couture locations. You're going to get 55% off all of those. But I am selfish. I do want Lisa to think that we actually have people listening to the show. So please come by this location here in Layton and say hi. We'll make it worth your while for sure. So I'm up here in Layton. Lloyd's back in studio. Lloyd, how are you, my friend?
I'm jealous of where you're at because there's nothing better than a Minky. We're always there around the holidays, whether it's Christmas time or Valentine's, and it's easily one of the best gifts that you can get your loved one. No, there's no doubt. And look, here's another thing too. If you get a blanket for your significant other, your spouse, girlfriend, both, we don't judge, whatever, you're going to open up the packaging and you're going to look at the tag. She's going to look at the tag. And if it doesn't say Minky, you're sunk. You're done. Okay? This is a signature gift, and not any old blanket's going to do. It's got to have that Minky tag on it, and it's a status symbol. All right? All right. We got a lot to get to on the show today. Danny Ainge, president of the Utah Jazz, will join us coming up at 12:30. Jaren Jackson Jr. absolutely will be in the lineup tonight. He will be making his Delta Center debut. You will be able to see him up close and in person in his first time wearing a Jazz uniform in the Delta Center. So you are not going to want to miss that. If you have tickets, make sure you're there. If you don't have tickets, make sure to grab them because this is going to be a historic night. A major linchpin for the Utah Jazz going forward will be in the lineup tonight for the Utah Jazz. So Jaren Jackson met with the media. We'll have some of that conversation. Mark Medina, funky Mark Medina, will join us coming up at 2:05. And Jerrod Calhoun, head coach at Utah State, will join us at 2:30. So let's not waste any time. All right. We got some stuff to say here. We got some stuff to get off our chest. And I think a lot of the hosts here on the Zone, a lot of times we'll disagree on some things. But I think on this one, we're all on the same wavelength. Now, I love the NBA. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are having a hard time with the NBA for various reasons, but I love watching professional basketball. You will see things on an NBA court you will not see anywhere else. It is far and away the best athletes on the planet. So I love everything about NBA basketball. Basketball, that is. But sometimes, I go back to a quote somebody said about their significant other.
and they said, I love him, but sometimes I don't like him. And right now, I love the NBA, but I'm having a hard time liking the NBA because of the moral hypocrisy some people have when it comes to allowing some things to slide and other things not to slide. And Bobby Marks, who does a tremendous job covering the league, he is a phenomenal salary cap guru. That guy does a tremendous job, and when trades go on, and he'll break it down, this is how it affects the salary cap, this is how far under a team is, this is how far over. He does a great job with that. But then when he talks about getting on a moral high ground with the NBA, and in particular the Utah Jazz, he misses, no pun intended, the mark in a big way. This is him yesterday.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. The ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players, and it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
What hammer? Knock it off. It's the dumbest thing that I've heard in a long time. All right, so let's go and talk about where this got sideways. This has been going on for decade after decade after decade. All right, teams have been tanking forever. And now all of a sudden, because the Jazz got a little bit more creative in how they did it as opposed to other teams, now we're going to try to sink the Utah Jazz. Okay, if Greg Popovich does this in San Antonio, everybody rolls their eyes like, oh, that's Pop being Pop. Oh, that clever SOB is doing his thing again. Okay, if it's somebody else if it's somebody for the Knicks doing this, oh, okay, well, that's the landscape we're living in. Guess that's how it goes. They found a loophole, so more power to them. Anybody else in the league does this, nobody blinks an eye. But because it's the Jazz, they can hone in on that and say, all right, no, okay, this is where you cross the line. Because it's really easy to go after the Jazz, a proverbial small market team. They want to go after them. It's ridiculous. It's insanely dumb. It's insanely ridiculous that you've got talking heads nationally trying to rally the league against the Utah Jazz. It's stupid. It's ill-sighted. And here's the thing. The Jazz would have been better off. This isn't even an issue. Nobody blinks an eye on this if the Jazz never played a single second with Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson. If they said, hey, Jaren Jackson, guess what? He came up limp a little bit in practice. He pulled a hammy. And so for precautionary reasons, we're going to sit him out the next 4 or 5 games. Lauri Markkanen, hey, he got really sick. He's under the weather. He's going to be out the next few games. Nobody blinks an eye. But because the Jazz said, no, we just acquired a new player. We want to see how he interacts with our other guys. We want to see how they play together. We want people who came to these games, who bought tickets to the games, to see our best players. Even in 3 quarters instead of 4 quarters, we're going to provide that. Now the Jazz are taking the hit. Oh, apparently that's too far. That's where the line is crossed. So we let you play for 3 quarters, and then we pull them in the fourth quarter. That's a problem. Come on, you're being a hypocrite. Anybody running their mouth about this and how it is hurting the integrity of the game is flat out being a hypocrite. Number one, and first off, props to Ben Anderson for bringing this up. This is a system that the players agreed upon, that the NBA owners agreed upon. This is a collectively bargained agreement between these two sides that this is the system we have. If you don't like it, well, guess what? There'll be a new CBA coming up. You can change it. There's no hammer to be thrown here on a collective bargained agreement between two sides that this is the system that they want to go with. Now, are you mad at the Utah Jazz specifically? Is that the team you want to go and fight against? Well, so be it, but understand this has been going on for a long time. The integrity of the NBA when it comes to the NBA draft has been in the tank forever. Now, there was a little bit of upset people when Luka got traded to Dallas, but that went away very quickly. And then Dallas ends up winning the number 1 seed overall. Okay, you can't tell me that doesn't seem a little shady? Look, the NBA draft has been a mess forever. And we have a generational draft coming up that could rival, and I know I hate putting expectations on guys, but it could rival what we see in what we saw in 2003. That's the kind of talent that we have in this year's NBA draft. If these guys live up to the expectations that have been heaped upon them. So if they live up to these expectations, there is essentially 30 to 40% of the NBA is going to do everything they can to get in the top 5 of that NBA draft. And the Utah Jazz are in a very precarious situation because, as we know, if they finish in the NBA draft lottery 9 or higher, then they convey that pick and it goes right over to Oklahoma City. So you want Oklahoma City to continue to build that monstrous roster? That's what you want? Of course not. And because I always say it feels weird here in Utah because sometimes we have this, I'm trying to think of the right word, imposter syndrome, or we have this feeling like everybody's out to get us. And sometimes it's actually true. Now, not more often than not, it's not. But this persecution complex we have is very much warranted on this one because this is one of the few NBA franchises that Bobby Marks and countless other talking heads across the national landscape will point out as being a problem. He doesn't say this about the Knicks. He won't say this about Dallas. He definitely wouldn't say this about the Lakers. He wouldn't say this about the Clippers. Go down the list. There are so many teams that he never in a million years would say anything about. But because the Jazz are an easy target and he doesn't think there's going to be any pushback whatsoever, he feels like it's his opportunity to go all in, get on his soapbox, and say that the integrity of the NBA has been hurt by this game. The integrity of the NBA was hurt when they fixed the lottery to make sure that Patrick Ewing went to the Knicks. That's all the way back to, 1985. Stuck an envelope in the freezer, thing was cold, they pulled it out, and guess what? The Knicks are your winner of the NBA lottery. The integrity has been damaged for a long time. But no, it's the Utah Jazz because they sat players in the fourth quarter and they didn't call a timeout in the fourth quarter. That's where your line is. Oh, okay, no. Okay, New York can fix it for Patrick Ewing. Dallas can get the beneficiary of trading a star to the Lakers and get Cooper Flagg. All this stuff, now that's okay. But the Jazz not calling a timeout in the fourth quarter and not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. in the fourth quarter, that's where the line is. Come on, stop it. It's dumb. It's dumb, it's ridiculous, and it's way over the top. It's unwarranted. I think it was Rick Majerus that made the joke that the NCAA one year was so mad at UNLV that they put Cleveland State on probation. That's what it is. You got a lot of people out there that are upset at the NBA draft lottery and the mess that it is. And so who are they going to take it out on? They're not going to take it out on Dallas for getting Cooper Flagg. They're not going to take it out on anybody else outside of who they think is an easy target in the Utah Jazz, which, again, goes back to my original comment. I love professional basketball. I love nothing more than to sit in the stands or in media row watching NBA hoops because the game itself is awesome. But it's hard sometimes to like the NBA because of this stuff. I mean, there's so many things that you can point to. And look, I have a dad. He's in his 80s. My dad and I watched so many NBA games growing up. He was a huge NBA fan. And now in the later stages of life where he's not as mobile as he used to be, he watches tons of sports. He won't watch NBA anymore. He's done with it. And there's, a lot of reasons out there as to why, and you can guess what those are. But there's a lot of people out there that refuse to watch the NBA because of nonsense like this, because of things that just don't make a lot of sense. Like, hey, we're all about human rights, which we all are, and I'm all about it, except for when we mess with China and that cash cow. Now we got to, let's back off here. We're hurting our bottom line. We can't mess with that. There are just certain things about the NBA. The NBA does so many things right. The quality of the game is better than it's ever been. And people may argue that, but I love where the NBA is right now in its pace of play, in its tempo, the way the game is played, the scores in which it's played, the athleticism that you see night in and night out. I love everything about it. It's just hard sometimes to like the NBA when they do dumb things like this because Adam Silver needs to find – look, if you want to change it, change it. That's great. But if you're going to look at the Jazz and put them on the pedestal of cheating – and they're the ones that are doing it wrong. They're the ones that have crossed the line. They're the ones hurting the integrity of the NBA. Then you're just talking to talk. That's just you as a producer at ESPN coming to Bobby Marks and saying, hey, Bobby, you know what? People are getting really tired of the salary cap stuff. I mean, it's great info, but come on, that's not going to move the meter. You got to take a stand on something. You really got to go after somebody and really make a difference here. All right, well, what can you do? Well, the Jazz just rested everybody in the fourth quarter. All right, bam, I got it. I'll go off on the Jazz. I mean, all he's doing, he's rage baiting you as a Jazz fan. He's taking an easy target on you as a Jazz fan, and he knows there won't be any pushback because he thinks that it's the Jazz. Nobody's going to care. Well, guess what? You should care because that's your franchise he's going after. That's your lineup he's going after. That's your coaching staff he's going after. That's your front office that he's going after. And this is nothing that would ever have been said about Greg Popovich. Look, Pop was the master at resting players. And there were a lot of people who bought tickets because they wanted to see Tony Parker. They wanted to see Manu Ginobili. They wanted to see Tim Duncan. And guess what? They would show up and get none of them because you got a guy that would rest everybody. Now, it worked for him because they would get into the playoffs. Those guys were rested, and they were probably able to extend their career, 4 more years and probably picked up another title because of that rest philosophy. But nobody said anything. People would grumble a little bit, but nobody would say it was hurting the integrity of the game. Here, people paid money to go see a game. They paid money to go see Jaren Jackson. Guess what? Jaren Jackson's going to be in the lineup tonight. You're going to be able to see Jaren Jackson. Good chance you're going to see Lauri Markkanen tonight if you're a member of the Jazz fan base. Would you rather them not play at all? Or would you rather them play 3 quarters and then sit in the fourth quarter so hopefully the Jazz can be better situated to get Boozer or DeBonsa or any of these other guys coming out in the draft? This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Danny Ainge coming up next.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk some Utah Jazz basketball. Joining us, Danny Ainge. Danny, how are you?
Scott, good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm trying to live life and trying to figure out what life is like without our guy Hans, but we're going to hold down the fort while we try to find the next great radio star. So I appreciate you bearing with us.
Not even trials. You're just doing it solo. I like it.
Well, yeah, we've got a few more people coming in, but, I guess I was selfish. I just wanted to sit and chat with you and go over a lot of things. And first off, the anatomy of a trade, and I know not every trade is created equal. Was this something that was in the works for a while, or did it come together pretty quickly with Jaren Jackson?
It took a while. Yeah, Jaren has been a player that's been unavailable for any team over the last year or 2 or 3. So the interest, when they called and had some interest in making some deals, and we called them. You'd have to talk to Austin about what that order was, but anyway, yeah, I think it moved fast. We had a lot of discussion, but when I say moved fast, I meant there was conversation fast, but the trade process went slow. It took a call back, a few days later, there's more. So it went all the way up until, very close to the deadline.
So when you are working with a team, and this isn't just about Jaren Jackson, but just in general, I think, so, maybe even months or even years in advance, you kind of express, hey, we really like this guy. Just kind of let us know if there's anything coming down the pipeline. Is that kind of the groundwork that maybe is laid way in advance of something that comes down, that eventually comes to fruition?
Yeah, I think that those conversations have been had before, but like I said, he's been a player that was never been available before. Yeah. So when he was, we made a plan to see if it was something that we could do and something that was good for us.
What does he do for this team, not just short term, but long term?
His versatility, his defense, his ability to score in the paint, his ability to spread the floor. He's a very versatile player and does a little bit of everything. Can handle the ball. For a 6'11" guy with a 7'5" wingspan, he's pretty well skilled all around basketball. So I think he's a really nice piece to add for our team.
you look at the potential size. I know that Walker Kessler's got to go through restricted free agency, but just hypothetically, with him and Jaren, and then Laurie at the 3, and Ace at the 2, and Keontae at the 1. I mean, you went to you could potentially have an extremely big lineup on your hands. What does that do for this team, and how does that help you?
Well, it just helps. It makes defense easier. It doesn't guarantee that you're better defensively, but size does matter in our business. And so the ability to play big and small, Walker could play the 5 without Jaren on the court at the 4. You move Lowry to the 4. You could play Jaren at the 5 and Lowry at the 4. You could play all 3 of them together, which is what we really like in a starting lineup. And so it just gives your team some variety and some versatility to play against different types of talent.
Keontae making the jump that he did that give you a little bit more, with his acceleration of his progress, did that give you a little bit more opportunities knowing, okay, we've got that spot locked down, now we can focus our attention in other areas?
I think that Keontae's play is we've been very impressed with and excited about, and how he's progressing, how he's worked, how his conditioning, how he's more in control of his emotions, and how much just better player, stronger, more confident in his abilities. It's been fun to watch over the last couple of years. What
is a player like that, what goes into making that jump? Obviously, it's a lot of time in the gym, but I remember talking to Booner at Media Day, and he said, watch out for Keontae because he's put in the work just not on the court, but off the court as well. What does that say about his maturity that he's been able to take that step?
Yeah, when we drafted Keontae, it was a big theme for us and for him and his future was conditioning. I think that's for most players, if not all players, that's a big factor. And, conditioning in the NBA to me is a cheat code. And it's something that he focused on in his first couple of years, but he really put in the time this year. I mean, he was around our gym with other players, with all of our young guys, and leading the way. And the conditioning has improved a lot in all of them, but particularly Keontae put in an amazing amount of time.
How hard is it to project a guy when you draft a guy 1 year out of high school to project his ability to put on weight, put on muscle, and once you get him in your facility and you're with your dietitians, that is it difficult to project what they will look like in 2 or 3, maybe 4 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, was it difficult for you to project what you would look like when you were 19?
I was on the McDonald's and Burger King plan, so I kind of knew exactly what direction I was going to go. But, yeah.
You knew where you were headed. Yeah, me too. I've lost some weight lately. But, yeah, no, I understand. But, yeah, at 19, you just don't know for sure. I mean, you see you have a picture in your mind of approximately what it can be. But so much of it just depends on the commitment, the work, of being able to fight through adversity, and have good people around you that you trust and believe. And I think we have that in our organization. We have great people in our medical staff and in our nutrition, all the way through. So yeah, it's good. It's good that they've got that way. But I think that I did see in Keontae the ability to get stronger and in much better shape. I thought that was something that he could do if he wanted it.
There's a great Rick Majerus story about how he was recruiting a kid, and apparently he was super skinny, and he's sitting in the living room with the kid and his parents, and he said, I'd be concerned about your ability to put on weight, but I'm looking at your mom over here, and it shouldn't be a problem with those genetics. And I'm like, that's about a classic of Rick Majerus story as you can possibly get. But when you close on a trade, everybody talks about the acquisition, but also it's got to be tough as a guy that recruited, players like Taylor Hendricks, and you have to say, hey, we loved what you've done here, but we're pulling the trigger on this trade. Is that really the downside of your profession? Is that the hard part, to have those tough conversations?
Not so much in trades. I mean, trades are hard for sure. I think when you're cutting guys, it's harder.
Yeah.
But when you have a home to go play in the NBA in another city and another team and maybe even a better opportunity, I was a player that was traded twice, and I was excited about it both times. Went to different situations, and so I think that sometimes things can get stagnant. But when you have players that they see an opportunity going forward, it's not so bad.
So I think that's a really interesting point. We just watched a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold, who'd played for a bunch of teams, and then finally it settled in and clicked for him in Minnesota, and then obviously winning a Super Bowl this year in Seattle. Is sometimes just a change of venue, a change of voice as a coach, can that trigger a player to take another step?
Yeah, and also just, with coaching, teammates, quality of your teammates, how they utilize your talents. Are they able to recognize what you do best and instead of trying to fit you into a system? And every player is unique in that regard. I mean, some players can play in any system, but a lot of times, even the great ones, your team has to make a major adjustment over to a new player coming in how they play. And so, with Jaren, it's great because he just plays. He plays defense. He plays offense. He runs the court. He, like I said, his versatility allows him to be able to be on the court with anybody in any style.
I know that he's got media availability, and we're going to play that a little bit later on. But overall, when you have your first conversation with him and you and Austin and Ryan, and you say, hey, we're bringing you to Utah, what were those conversations like with him?
Oh, he was very positive and very excited about the opportunity to play in Utah. And, he was really excited for a change and something new in his career.
How appealing is it, not just him as a player, obviously that skill set, but the fact that he's 26 and he's got a ton of years left on his contract? How much did that play into the equation as well?
Sure. I mean, getting a player that's been a two-time All-Star and is still only 26, that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's very, very rare. And so we couldn't be more excited than to have him in the fold, and you can feel the excitement with everybody in the organization right now.
Well, Jaren Jackson making his debut in the Delta Center tonight wearing a Jazz uniform. As we, we're in the stretch run of the season, what do you want to accomplish and see from him and see for him and Larry out on the court together? What are some of your goals as you go into next season or this offseason and going into next season?
Well, I would say that, we're not realistically a playoff team. And I feel like, this off season, this summer, this fall, and next winter are going to be huge, and we're going to have a lot of time to figure all that out. Instead of doing it on the run, we'll have more time to really get those guys acclimated with one another in the off season.
So there is this thought process that when that trade came down the pipeline, that it felt like the Jazz had taken that step, and we'd all been waiting, and you guys have been incredibly patient, making sure the right deal was available to take that next step. But I know, and I'm sure you felt this from the community as well, the excitement like, okay, it's go time. Do you feel that in the front office as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like our planning sessions are much different right now with the higher ups in the organization, and just as we're looking forward to the off season and what we can do to put a better team together. Just,
Austin and Jay-Z doing a lot of work in the preparation, but when a deal is coming together, do they then circle you in, and then Ryan, or what are those conversations? I think people are fascinated to know kind of how quickly a trade can come together once Austin and Jay-Z kind of put the framework together.
Yeah, I mean, those guys that do most of the legwork and the phone calls to other organizations. But, Ryan and I are brought into every deal that has a chance or it gets cold or even discussed in before those calls are even made. So, yeah, everybody is involved in those decisions for sure.
Well, Danny, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to catching up with you again. But, again, congratulations. Awesome move, and I know a lot of people are really fired up about where this team is at right now and where they're going to be down the line.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Good luck with you in as you're looking for a partner.
Hey, you know what? I'm just know this. Like, if you want to take a massive pay cut and you're bored from noon to 3, you always have a chair here. Just know that.
All right. Sounds good. You never know in this business, right?
No doubt. Thanks, Danny.
All right. See ya.
There he is, Danny Ainge. And that's what I really wanted to spend some time with him and talk to about how trades come together, how quickly this one. The Jazz have had Jaren Jackson in their sights for a long time, but you know what? Memphis was like, no, we like him, and he's going to be part of us. And they made a big commitment with him on a contract, and he's 26 years old. But then when you have a chance, finally, when Memphis says, okay, let's chat, you got to be ready. And you got to have the assets in place, and you have to have everything ready to go so that you can make that move. The Jazz, after the Mike Conley trade a few years ago, they had no assets, none. And what the Jazz were able to acquire in the Rudy Gobert trade, the Donovan Mitchell trade, and so many other moves along the way to be able to stockpile that pick, to be able to grab that Phoenix #1 pick in 2031, that sucker was worth its weight in gold. And, everybody's like, well, 2031, that's a long ways away. Okay, sure, it's unprotected. Yes, but you don't understand what that means as an asset right now for trades that can come down the pipeline, and that's what's really paid dividends for the Utah Jazz. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, we're live here at Minky Couture in Layton, 55% off. 55% off these blankets right now. You come on by, you pick up a blanket, 55% off. Make sure you say Zone 55, and you'll be a hero on Valentine's Day. We'll chat with Lisa coming up in our next segment. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as it's another edition of what you may have missed right here on the Zone. By the way, we were just talking during the break. Brant and I were chatting about Lindsey Vonn. She has now undergone a third leg surgery since that Olympic crash. So not one, not two, but three on that broken left leg. She put a picture of herself up on the old Instagram, and my goodness, the harness that leg is in, yeah, I think she's probably going to call it a career. She said, I had my third surgery today. It was successful. Success today has a completely different meaning than it did a few days ago. I'm making progress. It'll be slow. It'll be okay. She had suffered a complex tibia fracture, which apparently was a compound fracture as well. It is currently stable, but will require multiple surgeries to fix properly. She's had 3 already, and anticipates that there will be more coming down the pipeline. So, again, I thought it was really interesting. My wife mentioned this when she was looking online, and a lot of people were going after Lindsey Vonn, saying, well, you know what, you weren't in a situation with that torn ACL where you could have competed. You took a spot from somebody that was more deserving, and that's why you got in the crash, because you have the ACL had nothing to do with the crash. It had zero to do with the crash. All right, so you know what? I will share that Lindsey Vonn story. I think Disney needs to make a movie about her. I think I will tell that story to my kids about overcoming adversity and fighting through pain. And even when things don't go your way, having a great attitude. I mean, if anything, she should be propped up for what she did. But, again, you got a bunch of keyboard warriors out there that want to tear down everybody, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Lindsey Vonn, absolutely, absolutely incredible, and certainly we wish her well in her rehabilitation. Now, we mentioned yesterday, we talked to Kurt Helin, what we anticipated would be the suspension over the fight between Detroit and Charlotte. Isaiah Stewart, he thought he might get 3 games. Nope, he gets 7 games. Now, remember, this is kind of a Lifetime Achievement Award for Isaiah Stewart, because this isn't a one-off for him. He's been, again, even the league said it was based on his repeated history of unsportsmanlike acts. Lloyd is what they would call a repeat offender.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a goon.
Yeah, the dude, yeah. And so he left the bench area, aggressively entered an on-court altercation, fought during Monday night's game, and that's why he gets 7 games. Remember, he's already been suspended 5 times. He had an altercation with LeBron James back in 21, suspended twice last season, And, this dude's looking to throw fists anytime he can. Other players receive some suspensions as well. Bridges suspended 4 games. Jalen Duren gets 2 games for the altercation, as the league is not having any of that. That's one thing the league's they will throw the hammer down. You want Bobby Marks and his hammer to be thrown? Well, you get into a fight. And not just one of those where guys puff out their chest and they pretend like they want to fight, but deep down they want no part of it. When you actually do fight, the NBA takes that really, really seriously. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in an hour from now, you're going to hear from Mark Medina. Jerrod Calhoun, head coach at Utah State, will join us coming up at 2:30. Aggies get a big win last night, knocking off Fresno State. Aggies now 21-3 on the season and 11-2 in Mountain West Conference play, as they've got a big one coming up against the Memphis Tigers. Yes, Penny Hardaway is going to be in Logan, Utah, coming up on Saturday, the Memphis Tigers. Now, when this was scheduled, this felt like it was going to be a home run. It could be a quad 1, maybe at worst a quad 2 game for the Aggies, but Memphis hasn't really held up their end of the bargain. They've certainly had their struggles, and so it's more about Penny Hardaway coming to Logan than it is Memphis. Although, look, they're loaded with athletes, crazy athleticism. They've got a little bit of a UNLV feel to them. They could beat anybody, but they could also lose to anybody as well. So that's what Utah State's got going on in the Spectrum coming up on Saturday. Oh, my goodness, Lloyd. You ready for some bad news?
Oh, no. What?
Oh, we've lost our quarterback.
Bo Nix?
No.
He's done?
No.
Oh.
No, James Vanderbeek has passed away.
Oh, man.
From colon cancer. Made his diagnosis public in 2024, but he's going up to the old football field up in the sky. Man, I feel bad. Our beloved.
He has been. I followed his story a little bit. I think I follow him on Instagram, and yeah, he's been having that fight for quite a while. That's too bad.
Well, what a bummer, man.
Probably one of the more iconic high school football movies.
That's a great.
And part of one of the all-time great scenes.
Well, hopefully wherever he's at in heaven does have whipped cream. But honestly, yeah, that's a gut punch, man. And really was the movie. The movie was good. It was solid, but it was just kind of like, that was part of your growing up, was watching Varsity Blues. And look, our generation may be a little older. Mine was The Program. That was the football movie that I had growing up. But I know that next generation, a lot of millennials, hey, they were all about Varsity Blues. Not so much Dawson's Creek. I didn't really watch that. But Varsity Blues, yeah, absolutely. All right, Jaren Jackson Jr., finally in Salt Lake, got traded in the middle of that Jazz road trip. He will make his debut in a Jazz uniform tonight in the Delta Center. His Delta Center debut, and he sat down and chatted with the media for the first time earlier today.
First week with this team, and how much you've gotten to know the guys, the system, are you kind of learning every single day?
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of days I wasn't even with them. They were on the road, and I was able to go to Salt Lake with Jitty and Vince, and we're kind of just, taking it all in and getting our minds right. But, after that, meeting them in Orlando, in Miami, it's been a lot of fun. I mean, you guys know them better than me, but they just seem like great guys, and they play together as a unit, and they, it's just been a great experience, made me feel welcome, everything.
You've played against this team for 8 years, and you've played in this arena. What do you think it's going to be like when the fans kind of greet you and give you your official welcome to Utah?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be loud every time I've come here. It's never been quiet. A lot of energy all the time. So, yeah, I think I'm mainly excited for that, to have it on my side a little bit. Usually you're anticipating it, trying to work through it as an opponent, but, now it's with me.
The Jazz obviously acquired you, not just for this season, with an eye toward the future. How do you feel like you kind of fit in terms of your skill set what you feel like your role on this team is going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I feel like I'm versatile. I feel like I can do a lot of things, and this system is a different offense than anything I've played in before. But it's something that I think teams and me in particular not have had trouble guarding, but definitely locked into guarding. I think it's a system with a lot of movement, especially offensively, and I think I can bring a lot to the table. Learning more about it every day, I learn a little bit more. So, asking me right now about it is a little bit tough, but I'm still learning like a couple things every day that would be unique to me in the system that's going to help me.
What's it like playing alongside Larry? I mean, he has a lot of size. He's a potent weapon on offense as well.
I mean, there's not much he can't do on the floor, which definitely helps everybody on the team. And I think just being a threat from everywhere, you can't go under. When he puts the ball on the floor, you have to respect him. When you're driving at him, you have to kind of make a choice, stay home, or it's kind of lights out with him. It's been crazy to play against him for this many years and seeing him improve. And then, at this point in our careers, playing with each other, I think it's nice.
There's kind of been a lot of talk league-wide about you guys sitting in the fourth quarters of the last couple games. I'm curious, how do you feel about it?
I mean, as a player, you always want to be out there, but if you're out in the first quarter, out in the second quarter, third or fourth, I mean, you just have to make an impact when you're in the game. That's what you have to focus on. If you focus on when you're not out there, you're gonna struggle as a player. If you're a rookie, a young guy, you wanted to play in the first half and you didn't, or whatever, you play in the third, like all that comes into play, man. You have to. This is my 8th year, so stuff getting thrown at me. I feel like I have enough experience to, be mentally capable through anything.
When you look at where you started in this league, kind of as a teenager, and now you're 26, 27?
What am I? Something like that.
Something like that.
26. Yeah.
But you're rounding into the prime of your career. I mean, what's that journey been like for you? Starting out so young in Memphis, and honestly going to a franchise. Obviously the geographic part is different, but a lot of similarities between the franchise that you're going to as opposed to when you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been feels like 3 years, but it's been 8, and yeah, I'm blessed to be able to be here like this. People who get closer and closer to a decade in a year, that's special. You're in rare company at that point, and there's so many people I could give credit for helping me get to this point. But yeah, I'll probably save that for a speech down the line or something. But I just, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed for everything that's happened to me up to this point. Everybody who's believed in me and helped me work on my game and trusted in me, and I feel like I've gotten better every year, and I want to continue that, no matter how old I get. So yeah.
You know what it's like to be on a playoff team, playoff contender. Maybe not this year, but where do you see the trajectory of this team? Do you think this team, with a full season, full off season with these guys, this could be a playoff team as early as next year?
100%. I mean, my goal is to come here and win a championship here. So I don't really think my mind is geared toward anything else. That's just kind of the mentality that I have. And then when you look at who we have, like, I really like what I see.
You mentioned getting better every year. This staff prides himself on player improvement. What's your relationship been like with Will? We saw you out there talking with him after shoot-around, but it's early. But what are your thoughts about him and the coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, our relationship started like hour 2, So it's probably the second person I talked to when I got back to my house on the phone, after seeing everybody and my own staff and everybody else, and it was a whirlwind at first for sure, but they had a game that day, and we had a game that day, and I was talking to him just about how the day is going, honestly. But right now, it's a lot of X and O's, how he sees me in certain systems, and I'm just learning terminology, the plays, different options, different reads. And then I'm kind of shooting ideas that I've had about certain things and just how we approach, practice and the games. And it really comes from a lot of me asking questions to learn about what they were doing before I was here. So, we're talking about everything. Great relationship.
At 26 and 8 years in the league, you're a younger coach. How would you describe your leadership style?
I like to lead by example. I think being year 8, the league's getting younger and younger, and everybody's just kind of like these guys are young. So I think just leading by example, my work ethic, and that's kind of like the main thing, being vocal, especially defensively. I think that's where you really can make your mark. If I were to give advice to somebody for anything, to really make your mark defensively, because that's where you can be the most vocal. Offensively, you can talk offensively, but there's a lot more moving around, a lot more things you got to focus on. But if you can disrupt the other team with your voice and communicate to the guards and communicate to anybody, that's going to mess up your opponent. It's going to help us. So, yeah, just being vocal.
Looking at next year, you won't see it this year, of course, but playing with Walker Kessler might be one of the better defensive centers you played with. You might be at your best at a roaming 4 kind of role defensively. Are you excited for that pairing with him?
Yeah, I've played with Walt before in USA, so I know what he brings to the table, and he's hard to score over. So I'm glad I'm on this side of it, and I'm glad, they're going to see me, they're going to see him, they're going to have to make choices. That's what it's really all about, making the other team make choices and giving our team a ton of them.
Curious what your perception of Utah was and the Jazz organization as an outsider for 8 years, and is there anything different that you've learned since the short time you've been here?
I think, everybody's pretty nice. I think it's a very, I don't know if it's a homey kind of vibe when you're driving around, and it feels pretty homey. I don't think I got out the hotel much when I was, well, actually, that's not true. I've been here for All-Star, Summer League. I was here. I know about Park City. I know, it's beautiful views. I used to come here to ski when I was younger with my mom. So, yeah, I do kind of know. I don't think when I was younger I was paying much attention. But, yeah, I think we're selling out games. I think just the fan engagement and everybody just being happy, and the reception I've already gotten has been great. So I really appreciate that. That goes a long way for me. And it was hard to breathe. So I'm glad to get that on my side too and get adjusted to that. So everybody else got to deal with that.
Knowing that you and Lowry are playing together, you guys are unique as 7-footers who play outside in, both shoot the ball, both on the floor. If just curious, if you were having an out-of-body experience and you had to guard 2 of those guys, how would you do that as an opponent? And
2 of who?
You and
me and him? Oh.
Yeah, 2 7-footers who play like that on the same team, kind of simultaneously. How would you deal with that, and what's that going to be like, kind of being on that side of it?
It's a blessing to be on this side of it. How would I guard it? You usually got to make stuff difficult. We're NBA players. That's how I would approach guarding other talented NBA players. You can't just expect to take away every single thing. You have to make life difficult and force them into stuff that's uncomfortable time after time, so they get tired and they just do stuff they don't want to do.
The newest member of the Utah Jazz, Jaren Jackson Jr. He's got a couple games with the Jazz under his belt, but his Delta Center debut coming up tonight, and you're going to want to get out to that because it's going to be an absolute blast seeing Jaren Jackson and, again, suiting up for the Utah Jazz. Jazz could make it easy on everybody and just float under the radar and just shut him down for the rest of the year, make up some kind of injury. That is acceptable. That's okay. You can do that, but heaven forbid you play him for 3 quarters and then shut him down in the 4th quarter. Now you're messing with the integrity of the game. So the Jazz are just being honest. They're telling everybody, yeah, we're playing him. He played, and, he didn't play the fourth quarter. Okay? That is okay. I mean, that's the problem. But if you lie and you flat out make up injuries and just say, oh, yeah, no, he's got this toenail issue it's flaring up. It's real bad. It might get infected, so we're going to shut him down. That's okay. So you can lie and be fine. Nobody blinks an eye on that one. But when you're honest and you actually play them and you allow him to play and have fans of your team be able to watch him out on the court, just not finish the game, that's messing with the integrity. That's going too far. All right, whatever. You bunch of hypocrites. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is your good, it is your bad, and yes, even your ugly. Let's talk a little BYU basketball. Last night, BYU snaps that 4-game losing skid. They go to Baylor and find a way to get the win. Now, look, a lot of people were hitting the panic button over BYU, and I understand why the concern level would be high, but you look at who they played. Arizona, again, number one team in the country up until they, finally suffered a loss to Kansas. Oh, and the team that beat Arizona, Kansas, was your next loss. Oklahoma State's the one you look at and you're like, yeah, that wasn't great. It was on the road. It's Oklahoma State. I get that one. That's probably the one you look at. But then you play Houston the next game at home and you lose to Houston. Well, you go on the road, you get Baylor 99-94. If there's one concern you have about BYU, it's on the defensive side. I mean, you look at the last point totals they've given up, 86 to Arizona, 90 to Kansas, 99 to Oklahoma State, 77 to Houston, and Houston is not an offensive juggernaut. They want to keep those games in the 60s, and then 94 last night to Baylor in a win. So defensively, they're still ranked 56 in defensive efficiency, but there are some elements that need to get better. Offensively, though, BYU is elite, and the one thing I do find very fascinating is like Kevin Young, you can tell, was like, all right, we got to go all in. We got to get this thing done. Robert Wright plays 40 minutes. A.J. DeBonsa plays 40 minutes. That is a sign of, hey, we got to get things going real quickly. Richie Saunders goes 36. I don't know how sustainable that is to play those guys those kind of minutes night in and night out, but they may have to. And if you want to get this thing right, then you need to go with your big guns. I remember a stretch where Craig Smith was playing Sam Merrill every minute of every available moment for Utah State coming down the stretch run of a season because he had to. You got your best player. You got to keep him on the court. You got to find a way to get wins. So DeBonsa, goes for 36 points. Robert Wright ends up with 30 points in the win. You'd love that assist number to be a little bit higher from your point guard, but he ends up with 3 assists, also pulls down 4 rebounds. He gets 4 steals in that game as well. So Robert Wright, big game for him, and then Richie Saunders does his thing. BYU had to win that game. It was a must-win game, and when they get down early, I think they trailed by as many as 12 points in that game, you started to really get concerned about where BYU was going to be at if they were to suffer another loss and make it 5 in a row. But they regrouped. The three-point shooting was abysmal, 3 of 19 from beyond the three-point line, but you get DeBonsa, who goes 13 of 16 from 2. So he finishes at the rim. Wright is able to get to the rim as well. So overall, big win for BYU, knocking off Baylor. Baylor, hey, look, let's be honest. They're not great. 13-11 on the season, 3-9 in Big 12 play. But you had to get that victory. You went out. You did it. You overcome some adversity. Now it's time to start stacking some wins. I haven't really been – I know, as I mentioned, a lot of people have been concerned about BYU. I said Monday, they're going to be fine. They're still an NCAA tournament team. They still have some of the best talent in all of college basketball. We set the sights really high for them, and when you roll out that kind of a payroll on a team, with that comes high expectations. And Kevin Young's not going to shy away from those expectations. But there's just too much talent on this team to get overly concerned about 4 losses in a row with that level of competition. Now, you're going to need to pick up some wins along the way. You're going to need to play well against Iowa State at home. That game coming up on the 21st, that's a game you're going to have to find a way to win. Arizona on the road in Tucson, probably not. But but then you're going to have to make sure you beat Central Florida at home. Then you're going to have to go to West Virginia. That's got to be a win. You can't have any of these losses that are going to be head scratchers. That was Oklahoma State. You get one. That's it. Central Florida, you've got to beat. West Virginia, you've got to beat. Cincinnati, you've got to beat. And then Texas Tech will come back into the Marriott Center on March 7th to close out the year. You'd like to pick that one up. If you can finish the year with maybe just one loss to Arizona, and because the schedule does open up after that Iowa State game, it opens up in a big way for your Final Four, including a home game against Texas Tech. You've got to feast on that. You got to string together some momentum and get a solid seed going into that Big 12 conference tournament. All right, there's your good. Let's get to the bad.
Now the bad.
So Lloyd stumbled onto this audio, and I think it's fantastic. John Schneider, the general manager, who has not put together one iconic defense in the Legion of Doom that won a Super Bowl back in 2013. Then it got stripped down, and then he built up another historic defense, but also stumbled on a running back who ends up being your Super Bowl MVP in Kenneth Walker. And he, let's just say at the parade, John Schneider had one too many beverages and got in front of a microphone in front of hundreds of thousands of Seattle Seahawks fans and talked a little bit about negotiating with his running back.
To Ken Walker being the MVP, let's go! Woo! He tried negotiating with me 5 minutes ago. It was really weird. Anyway, hey, MVP! MVP! MVP!
So you get to the point where, and Lloyd, not even just if you're intoxicated that level, like we've all had those moments where we try to slip in a joke and it just falls flat. And you're like, uh-oh, I just screwed up. What do I got to do here? And so he realizes, even in his drunken state, that he screwed up and that he made a joke and it fell flat. I mean, you could hear the groans behind him.
Look at Kenneth Walker.
And he's right there.
He's like shaking his head, and it is so uncomfortable. Okay, what I'm going to say, they're both in a wrong place. Like probably before the parade, not the place to say, hey, let's talk negotiate. Like probably not there's plenty of time to talk. I know he's an unrestricted free agent, but then on the other side, the GM, sorry, you can't blast your MVP running back who I still say that the MVPs were the special teams, but he was your MVP, and he had not been for him, you probably would, you wouldn't have been in a place to sometimes, kick some of those field goals.
Yeah.
It was bad on both sides, but being drunk and intoxicated looks way worse.
Oh, it's so bad. It's just so bad. And honestly, too, it really cracks me up because, look, John Schneider has been an institution in the league for a long time, and he's had that job. And that dude bleeds professionalism. But when you have one too many, it all goes out the window, and you're going to say something stupid. And he did. And, I mean, look, if you're the agent of Walker, aren't you watching that and be like, all right, okay, noted, duly noted. And there's going to be competition for my guy's services coming off a Super Bowl MVP. So just know we understand where we stand with you. So if you want us to stay in Seattle, that price tag may have just gone up a little higher. So
it kind of reminded me of, as far as on Kenneth Walker's side, it kind of reminded me of, you remember on Goodfellas where they had the big heist? And the one guy came to get his cut, like literally after they just had the heist. And he's like, hey, so can I get my cut now?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of reminded me. He's like, hey, will you pay me my cut? And it's like, dude, chill for a sec. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's enjoy this together. Let's enjoy this celebration. Don't already hit me up about your raise or your contract. We're at the parade, for heck's sakes. Like, come on.
All right. So there was a. I don't know. I probably shouldn't share this story. All names will be left out. This was a long time ago, Lloyd. And by the way, this was under different management and different employees. This person is no longer working in the sports media world. But we got to a point where we were able to give a lot of our guys raises across the staff, and we'd fought for it forever. Like, hey, our guys need increases. We got to get them paid a little bit more, and we got a lot of pushback. And then this, by the way, this wasn't Bonneville. This wasn't KSL. This was another group at the time. And so we fought like crazy, and, man, I did everything I could to get some increases for our guys. Finally, they give me the green light. Like, okay, yeah, we'll give them X amount percentage, this, and this. I'm like, okay, good, finally. And I'm so happy because I get to deliver the good news. And so I sit down with a guy, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I know you've been patient. I know you've been wanting this. Guess what? We got you some more money. Here's the number. And he looks at it, and he looks at me. He's like, I thought it was going to be more. And I'm like, whoa. Wait a minute. Like, I went out on a limb for you. Like, I worked really hard to get this for you. And you're going to, like, say something like that to me? Like, hey, come on now. Like, let's be a little appreciative. And, you know, if you're John Schneider and the rest of the Seattle Seahawks, like, now's not the time to really downplay a guy or kick him when you're trying to say, oh, yeah, he's negotiating with me is really weird. No.
That's bad timing.
You got to know the timing. And so, I mean, look, if I could have, I probably would have pulled the raise there on the spot. I was super ticked off at the time. But you know what? It is what it is. But again, I'm telling all you kids out there, even guys that have been around the league for a long time, even guys that should know better, number one, stay off the booze, especially in public. And number two, watch what you say. Don't say dumb stuff. It'll always come back and bite you in the butt. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We talked about BYU picking up their win last night. University of Utah in action as well last night against Houston. Look, Alex Jensen doing everything he can to get that program turned around. It's going to be a bit of a rebuild. Kelvin Sampson had some words to say about Alex Jensen. You'll hear those coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I hope you're all having a tremendous day. Valentine's Day is coming up, and just here in a few moments, we'll talk to Lisa. We're live here at Minky Couture. We don't want to mess around here. We want to get you taken care of for, again, what should be a good Valentine's Day. It's good if you get the right gift, and Lisa's going to help you out here in just a second. Last night, it was all Houston as they get the victory over the University of Utah, led by 9 points at halftime, and then it got away in the second half. Utah only scored 6 points in the first 10 minutes of the second half, and this is up against a defensive grinding team in University of Houston. That's one thing that they've done is they've bought in defensively into what Kelvin Sampson's been preaching. They'll switch everything, and they not just play defense, they embrace defense. They are all about trying to shut you down and make you look silly. And it's a squad that you know every time you go up against them, you're going to get put through the ringer. Well, last night it was the University of Utah. Utes now fall to 9-15 overall and 1-10 in Big 12 play. But if you're Alex Jensen, and look, I've known Alex forever. I consider Alex a friend. But taking the friendship out of it, Alex Jensen is far and away the right man for the job. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work with Alex Jensen at the University of Utah, then it's not a coaching problem because you've had Craig Smith, who is a tremendous head coach. You've had Alex Jensen, who is a tremendous head coach. You even had the back end of Larry Kraskowiak, who is a very, very good head coach. And look, it's like, I make reference to the I can't remember exactly what singer was, some guy from the 70s, Greg Allman, the Allman Brothers Band. He was quoted after he got his 5th divorce where he said, maybe the problem is me. Well, if you have another head coach that can't produce at a high level, maybe the problem isn't the coaching. Maybe you got to take a deep dive inside whatever is not clicking inside that athletic department for your basketball team. Kelvin Sampson last night after the game gave a huge ringing endorsement for Alex Jensen.
Utah can turn around quickly. There's a lot of tradition here, and I think Alex is the right guy. He's a Ute. You know, I know he's come from the NBA, but that being a Ute matters. That's important to him. And you know, these kids will, as he builds this program, I think he's going to do a great job. And I've watched him.
And honestly, he's spot on all that. Alex Jensen, far and away the right guy for the job. He will get that program turned around if he's given the right resources, if he's given the right opportunities to go out and run the program the way that he wants to win it or wants to do it. And by all accounts, it sounds like that is being put in place. But I will say, let the man do his job. Let the man be able to make the decisions he needs to make, build the team the way he needs to build it, give him the resources to be successful, and Alex Jensen will knock it out of the park. I have little doubt on that. Unfortunately, I don't think that same luxury was given Craig Smith, and I think that's why Craig struggled with wins and losses down the stretch. Craig Smith didn't all of a sudden forget how to be a head coach in college basketball. Craig Smith has won everywhere he's been. Whether it was at South Dakota, whether it was at Utah State, whether it was at Minot State, where all the places Craig Smith went to, he won at a high level. But it was the University of Utah where suddenly he forgot how to coach? No, of course not. The landscape changed, and the athletic department at the University of Utah wasn't ready to change with basketball. They were all in on football, but they weren't quite there on basketball. Now they are. And so give Alex Jensen, give him what he needs, and then get out of the way and let him do his thing, and you'll be fine. You'll have that program turned around. He's going to build it the right way. He's going to be just fine. But, again, let the man do his job. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
7.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Thursday, or was it Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday's tomorrow. The days all just kind of blend together. Hey, it's a chance for you to win. It's a Win Ticket Wednesday. And caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE, and you'll score a pair of tickets to see Brian Reagan at the Delta Center coming up on Saturday. That's right, this Saturday. Great seats are still available at SeatGeek.com if you don't win. But remember, caller number 12, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. All right, Mark Medina is going to join us coming up here in just a moment. You can also check out JJ and Alex coming up tomorrow from 3 to 6. They'll be at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. It's your chance to shop, compare, and buy the RV of your dreams. It's the boat show coming up tomorrow, 3 to 6 at Mountain America Expo Center. All right, fired up to talk to Mark Medina, one of the best when it comes to covering the NBA. He's been doing it for a long time. And as soon as we get him on the line, I'm curious to know, I do not know where he stands on the tank gate going on for the Utah Jazz. For whatever reason, the national media has suddenly sunk their teeth into the Utah Jazz for essentially, according to them, disparaging the sanctity of the game of basketball. All right, get off your high horse. Stop it. You bunch of hypocrites. This has been going on forever. The Jazz played players for 3 quarters and then shut them down in the 4th quarter, and apparently that's the line you're not allowed to cross. So you can falsify injury reports, you can make up stuff and say, oh yeah, our guy here, Jaren Jackson, we traded for him, we're really excited, but his hamstring's a little tight, so we're going to shut him down for the next month. That's okay. You can lie, fabricate, make up stuff. NBA doesn't care. National media doesn't care. But if you play the player and he's active and he plays for 3 quarters and then you shut him down in the 4th quarter, then that's too far. Now the dignity of the game is at stake. Oh, my gosh. I love the NBA in terms of the quality of the game. And I know some people have a hard time with that too. They think there's no defense, but you have the best athletes on the planet. These guys are talented beyond belief. They're doing things on a nightly basis in the NBA that nobody else is doing. But sometimes it's really hard to like the NBA when stuff like this comes up. All right, joining us now, does a lot of great work covering the NBA. You hear him on Fox Sports Radio on this station. Mark Medina, kind enough to join us. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. All right, so I do, we have a little bit of an issue here with the Jazz, and I want to get your thoughts. I do not know where you stand on this, but it seems like the national media has kind of sunk its teeth into the Jazz for playing guys for 3 quarters and shutting them down in the fourth quarter. And it seems like had they just not played them at all, that would have been okay. But the fact that they're playing them and then not playing them in the fourth, that seems to be the line you're not allowed to cross.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Utah Jazz aren't the only team that has tanked this year and historically, but I think that there is a way to finesse it a little bit. If there are, real or slightly exaggerated injuries, or, you play more younger guys but not be completely obvious. I think it was the fact that they shut down, 2 pretty big guys in the entire fourth quarter. I think there's a way of accomplishing both, maximizing lottery odds, but not being so blatant about it. But I think to your point, the Jazz aren't the only team to do this, and certainly aren't the last, until the NBA tries to mitigate that. But the last thing I'll say is the NBA has tried to mitigate it. You've seen the play-in tournament, that's created more competition late in the season. The lottery odds themselves were built by design, that you don't necessarily guarantee a top pick for just the worst team, that there is some element of chance to it. But I think the main thing on why the Jazz behavior rubbed people the wrong way is that it was for the entire fourth quarter. It was also very early in the season. If this had taken place, next month, April, I don't think there would have been as much angst, but this is before the All-Star break. I mean, usually we start seeing bad basketball beginning with the All-Star game, not before it.
So you just got to be a little bit more subtle on how you do it, apparently, right?
Yeah, but also, I mean, I think that they can be one and the same, but they are different. Not as blatant. Like, play young guys throughout the game, be more staggering with your rotation. You're sitting guys for an entire quarter. That's blatantly obvious. I know that if you sit a guy for an entire game, that's even more. But, there are guys that have injuries that there's a validity to it. So I think it's more about not being so obvious, as well as the timing of it. Again, if this took place next month in April, I don't think there would be as much angst. But it's one of those things that, because a little bit with this play-in tournament, it's created this wider division of teams that really don't have a chance, and they've leaned into, okay, let's just be really, really bad. And for that to take place before the All-Star game, I think that's contributed to the frustration and criticism.
Well, and the other thing, too, is like if there's a team that knows that tanking at a high level doesn't necessarily reward you in the long run, it's the Utah Jazz, because, hey, they had the worst record in the NBA and they still picked 5th in last year's NBA draft. So, I mean, this is a team that's well aware that, hey, you know what? It may not work out for us if we tank at a high level. Yeah,
I mean, there's no easy answers to this, because, I know Jerry West, when the whole lottery system came out, he was poo-pooing it because he thought this was a celebration of losers. But you look at the San Antonio Spurs, right? They got Tim Duncan and Victor Wembanyama. These are generational talents, but there's also the other counterpoint that doesn't guarantee that you will get that top pick. And, teams that tend to be in the NBA draft, they tend to be there a lot of times as repeat offenders. So I suspect that because the NBA has continued to tinker with this over the years, they will do more things because of some of these recent examples, not just with the Jazz, but the Washington Wizards. So I think that what that is, it's hard to say, but I know that Adam Silver is here in LA for NBA All-Star Weekend. So hopefully he has, some concrete answers beyond lawyer speak and double talk.
So if you were Adam Silver and you could make any decision you want, what could you do to fix the lottery? Would you make even odds for everybody in the NBA? I mean, again, pie in the sky. I know that not everything can happen, but if you could just revamp the whole thing, how would you make it?
Yeah, it's tough because I think even odds make sense. The whole relegation with soccer makes sense, but I think that some teams will then argue, well, what about the hypothetical where, our star player all of a sudden has a season-ending injury? You're going to punish us for that? I think that as long as the NBA differentiates between external circumstances and internal dynamics, those two proposals could at least reduce it. But, yeah, there's no easy answers because you can't completely eliminate everything because at the end of the day, the league is going to create winners and losers. Like, there's only one championship team. You have 30 teams, and it's possibly going to be 32 with expansion. By design, you're going to have bad teams, right? So it's not an easy solution. But, again, going back to Utah and some of these recent examples with other teams, it's more of the blatant severity of it and the timing of the season. Again, if this took place next month, April, wouldn't be as much angst about it.
Your initial thoughts when you saw the Jazz in the acquisition of Jaren Jackson, how do you feel like that trade went in terms of what they had to give up to get him, and how does that remake this team going forward?
Yeah, I thought it was a great deal. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a winning player, great defensive player. You know, he has all those accolades. You know, no one's going to mistake him for being the most lethal scorer, but he's very versatile with that. You know, what this means moving forward, I can see that fit with Lauri Markkanen coexist, even in today's NBA where you know, go into smaller lineups. There's kind of a yin and a yang to that, and both players are very versatile that they can complement each other. But I think it also does give the Jazz flexibility that if there is a better deal out there, that there's more of a comfort level to include Lauri in that trade package. So I think it's a great move. Now it's a matter of let's play them in the fourth quarter so you don't get everyone up in arms about it.
Let's just say for the sake of argument, the Jazz hold on to Walker Kessler in restricted free agency. So you have a potential starting five lineup with a 7-footer in Kessler, and then you've got a player of the quality and the size at the 4 of Jaren Jackson, Lauri at the 3, Ace Bailey at the 2, and Keontae George at the 1. That's a massive starting lineup in terms of length. Just how much can that improve the Jazz, who have been pretty woeful defensively?
Yeah, I think it can do wonders, but it also goes both ways. That if you're playing small, they're going to be, overmatched a little bit. But the good thing is it's not going to be that dire because they still have a lot of athleticism on the floor. And the ironic part in today's NBA is that it is a copycat league. So now it's all about, you don't want these traditional big guys and all this size, but you always have to counteract what's the conventional wisdom in hopes that creates a competitive advantage. So what that means, where the Jazz are in the pecking order, I'm not labeling them an all-star team or, a playoff team right now, but they have the flexibility to, really package players together, including Walker Kessler, including Lauri Markkanen, and try to flip that into more talent here. But I think in the short term, from a basketball fit, it is, they can coexist, but it is a process to ensure that results in actual wins.
So when you look at the market for Walker Kessler, restricted free agent, what do you – and again, I'm just asking you to spitball here, and I won't hold you to it, but what do you think the market is in terms of dollars per year for Walker Kessler?
Yeah, it's hard to answer. I don't know exact dollars a year. I just know, being out here in L.A., there's always a lot of talk about, the Lakers have interest in Walker Kessler, but I think they often shied away from it as well as other teams with the expectation that, they would get kind of a Rudy Gobert type of package in return. I don't think that's what the market is for him in a trade, but as it pertains to, contract free agency, I don't know the exact dollar figure, but I don't sense teams are about clearing up cap space just so they have him. It's more of one of those nice to have tos, but don't need them type of scenarios.
Mark Medina joining us. You hear him on Fox Sports Radio. Has been covering the NBA for a long, long time. Oklahoma City, you put them certainly as the best in the West. Denver, I would slot them at number 2. I'm just talking about my own personal power rankings. What do you do with Houston? Where does Houston fall in the mix in all of this?
Yeah, I think they're a wild card because we've seen them be really well, and we've also seen them still show the signs of young growing pains. There's a reason why Kevin Durant got frustrated with Alperen Sengun because of defensive effort and attitude. Where I rank the Rockets, I would put them at 4th right now. because I'm with you. I have the Thunder at first. Denver, I have at second because Jokic is back and they have more of the experience continuity. But I think the Spurs are the real deal. I don't think they're overwhelmed because of their youth. They have a good blend of hungry, talented young guys that are about the right things with Wembanyama and Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper. But they have good vets with De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes. But the only reason I don't have them ahead of Denver is not because I think that they'll be overwhelmed with the playoff moment. It's just from a tactical standpoint, they don't have the same familiarity as the Nuggets do and the Thunder. But the Rockets, I thought that they would be a lot more consistent, but this is what happens when you try to blend youth with an established veteran. Sometimes you go through these growing pains. The Lakers could eclipse them because Luka Doncic is that special a player, and Austin Reeves is back, but they've been pretty flawed defensively that I expect that they'll stay at fifth.
What do you do if you're running the Golden State Warriors and you want to keep, this nostalgic factor of the team together, but it's probably in your best interest to tear it down and start rebuilding that thing up? How do you balance, treating, guys like Steph Curry and honoring them and who they are, but also knowing that, you're going to have to turn the corner here sooner or later?
Yeah, well, through hits and misses, I don't think the Warriors have been hamstrung on nostalgia factor. I mean, they didn't keep Klay Thompson. They parted ways with Andre Iguodala. It's about what do you get in return. And so they made it clear that they're willing to trade Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and a package for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks just weren't interested, even when they were including draft picks and some young players and Jonathan Kuminga, Buddy Hield. And so when Mike Dunleavy is saying, we didn't get that far and Draymond wasn't part of the discussions, I think it's more of semantics that it wasn't part of the discussions because the Bucks weren't interested. But, as soon as there's a better deal, they'll do it. And Steph Curry is still playing at an all-star caliber level. He's not playing at All-Star Weekend because of an injury, but, he's still the real deal. So it's about packaging the best talent around him in hopes that he can still win a championship. And so right now they've been leaning on their current roster because that's the best with what they have, available. And I know talking with Draymond earlier last week, he hopes he can still play another 2-4 years. He's really good defensively. But if there are better opportunities to make in deals, the Warriors will do it. It's just it takes two to tango, and it's easier said than done to find the right deal as they've experienced these last few trade deadlines and off seasons with negotiations.
We got a couple games of a sample size under our belt, but when I say long term, I mean long term this season. How do you think James Harden fits in with Cleveland?
Yeah, I think it could go really well. It could also blow up in their face. Why it could go well is that he's still playing at an all-star caliber level. He wants to win a championship. I think in the short term, he's shown historically he can coexist with other ball-dominant players, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. But here's where you have skepticism. In the playoffs, he doesn't show up consistently because of health or just shrinking from the moment. And eventually, long-term, there is a feeling that he's more comfortable being the main guy. And Donovan Mitchell is the main guy. Now, in Donovan's case, he is what, Kenny Atkinson considers to be a selfless superstar where, he wants to make guys comfortable, whether it's, Evan Mobley or Jared Allen or Darius Garland when he was with the team and bring out the best of him. But make no mistake, they're expecting Donovan to carry the team, take the last shot. But I think all things considered, when you look at all the different dynamics with the Clippers and the Cavs, it makes sense why they did what they did. Even with the question marks I outlined with Harden, I think the Cavs had even more question marks about Darius Garland with his health. He's had different injuries. With the Clippers, even though they've had this late season run, it's really only enough to set them up to make it through the play-in tournament. They want to have cap flexibility this summer and next summer to potentially build more around Kawhi Leonard. And Darius Garland, yes, he has injury history, but he's at least younger. So in theory, there won't be as much concerns about long-term durability as there would have been with Harden. But, as I outline this could also blow up in the Clippers' face as well because Garland, yes, he's expected, I've been told, to come back after the All-Star break, but his injury history these last few years is his injury history. And, so understand, again, why the move was made. It could work, but it very well could backfire for other teams.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on. We'll agree to disagree on the whole Jazz fourth quarter situation. I totally understand your stance on it. I know people here in Utah are defending their team as well. I am as well. I just, but I do agree. I do appreciate your stance and coming on and answering the questions about it.
Of course. Hey, I'll give you some red meat. What the Jazz did, it's so bad for the NBA. It's so egregious.
You know what? Lloyd was rolling on that, and we'll spin that clip and just play it over and over and over again coming out the rest of the day.
I hope the tongue-in-cheek tone was caught there.
Oh, for sure. Thanks, Mark. You're the best.
All right, take care.
You got it. Mark Medina from Fox Sports Radio, as well as covering the NBAs with Athlon and others. All right, so he says it's a timing thing.
I so
the Jazz pulled this off
with that.
It's
not a timing thing. I
know.
It's not, because it hasn't been a timing thing with anybody else that's done it. It hasn't mattered. The tanking was before the All-Star break. It's not the timing. It's not the timing of it. If that's another way you want to spin it, then fine. That's fine. That's everybody. All the national pundits have their own way of how they're spinning this. So,
but honestly, his thing is. Honestly, like, the Jazz aren't subtle about it. And that's apparently what's got according to him, that's why everybody's upset about it, because everybody else has at least lied and tried to pretend like they're not tanking, but these injuries are real. And the Jazz are like, no, they're healthy and we're going to play them for 3 quarters. And, the fourth quarter's here, we're shutting them down. If anything, the Jazz are getting penalized for being honest about what they're doing. They're being totally upfront. Yeah, this is, they're not saying it out loud, but we all know what's going on. You heard Will Hardy. We played the cut, I believe, yesterday, where Will Hardy's like, they're not playing in the fourth. They weren't coming back. That's it. Plain and simple. There's no question about it. So if you think that the sanctity of the great National Basketball Association has been hurt by the Jazz, folks, that ship sailed a long time ago. A long, long, long time ago. Coming up next, we'll catch up with the head coach of the Aggies, Jerrod Calhoun.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends. Nice. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment brought to you by U of U Health. Go to uofuhealth.org for more information. Joining us now, he is the head coach of the Utah State Aggies, as Penny Hardaway coming into town on Saturday. It's the Aggies up against Memphis. On Saturday, 6 o'clock tip-off. You'll hear it right here on this station. But Coach Calhoun, kind enough to carve out a few moments for us. I know you don't talk to me enough, so we thought we'd squeeze in one more conversation. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Scotty. Never get tired of hearing your voice, buddy.
Hey, by the way, congratulations on the win last night. It was one of those games where your team found a way defensively to get some stops down the stretch, and offensively the fast break points just keep on coming. But now that you've had a chance to look at the film a little bit, tell us a little bit more about what you saw in that game last night.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think Fresno State is a much improved team. I think we've got a lot of teams in our league that have made great strides. Nevada certainly is much, much better than last year. You look at Grand Canyon coming into the league. The league overall is a better conference. It really is. We've got some great quality teams. So I thought last night the story of the game was our bench. Elijah Perryman coming in as a freshman, getting 16 points was really, really critical. I thought Colby King provided a huge spark, and then Gary Clark, Zach Keller, and I think Carson Templin played really well. And I think it just shows you the strength of our team is our depth.
When you put this game together with Memphis in the offseason, I think you're anticipating that Memphis, from a record standpoint, would be a lot better than what they're at right now. But still, this is a team that is loaded with talent, and it kind of has that vibe of they could lose to anybody, but they could also beat anybody on any given night.
Yeah, currently they're playing really, really well. Penny Hardaway, obviously a NBA legend, has done a masterful job at Memphis. They play anybody, anywhere, anytime. So if you look at their losses, the majority of them are to Power 4 teams. You know, they don't really have a bad loss, so to say. So they play everybody in the country, give him a ton of credit for coming to Logan, Utah, and then obviously we'll return the game next year. So I think they'll go on a run. I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with in the American Conference. So by the time Selection Sunday rolls around, we are really hoping that they're a quad 2.
I know that you and especially Cameron Walker, both of you are, you know, you're big into the making sure your computer numbers look as good as they possibly can. Is this when this thing came together? You end up sacrificing a bye week, you know, a Saturday that normally you would have had off this week to play a game like this. What was that thought process for you in the off season when you're putting this together, realizing that, you know, you could be cutting back on some rest, a little R&R for your team to get this game in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, scheduling, Scotty, outside the rev share and the NIL is probably the most important piece to a college basketball team. So I think we've done a really good job putting ourselves in back-to-back years, a great position to get an at-large bid. In today's world, when teams are spending $8 to $18 million, these bids are getting harder and harder to get. You know, if you look at the ACC, what they've been able to accomplish from last year to this year, they are really on the upswing. So we wanted to provide our team with good quality opponents, a lot of quad 1, quad 2 opportunities, and we've been able to do that. You know, obviously you have to win those games, but this was the only date that made sense for the University of Memphis. So we had to sacrifice, as you said, the bye week, but we've done a really good job of kind of shortening our practices. We have an off day today, so we'll have a 2-day prep to get ready for these guys.
Jerrod Calhoun, head coach of Utah State, joining us right here on 97.5, the EKSL Sports Zone. How hard is it when, you know, and I'm not talking about last night in particular, but just any game, when you're up on a team and you kind of want to pull back the reins a little bit, but you also know that margin of victory is part of the equation. So you've got to balance those two things. How difficult is that for a coach?
Yeah, I don't think there's any pulling back anymore, Scotty. You want to get as many stops and score as many points as you can. The last thing you want to do on Selection Sunday is not have great metrics. So every possession is measured. You got to try to score the ball. You know, right now we're top 40, in the top 40 in both offense and defense. Really, really pleased with both sides of the ball are. We have to continue to get better and then just really continue to be process driven. You know, I think these are the dog days of February, but it sets you up for March. So we have a lot to play for. We have a lot of games left. And we have 2 coming up that are at home, you know, Saturday and then Wednesday against Boise State. These are 2 tremendous opportunities for us.
You had a sellout last night, more sellouts that have already been announced. Just with that crowd and that atmosphere last night at Spectrum Magic, you've been around that program for almost 2 years now, but last night felt even a little bit more special than usual.
Yeah, I thought, you know, just by giving everybody that walked into the building a T-shirt, you know, see how it was striped, see the scoreboard. You know, there's so many great memories, so many great players, so many great coaches, so many great fans. You know, everything is really kind of fallen into place for a number of years with Utah State basketball. So it's really a special time to be a part of it. We have a really good group, and you just don't take these things for granted. You know, you're certainly you know, very hungry to keep going at 21-3. But sometimes, you know, when you walk into that building, you can feel it's going to be one of those nights. And I thought last night that was really, really incredible atmosphere.
When you let's dig a little bit deeper on this Memphis team. What really jumps out at you when you watch this team on film?
Very, very athletic, Scotty. When you look at their team, their front line, the ability to block shots, really defend, high level defensive team. They've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of college basketball, and you know, they're going to play tomorrow night. They're going to play against North Texas and then fly into Logan on Friday. So we have to have 2 really, really good prep days. It's not like we've seen these guys at all where you're now in the league play, you're playing teams for the second time. This is certainly new territory for not only us, but I think Memphis. You know, playing a non-conference game this late is kind of unique.
Do you feel like even though maybe Memphis from a metric standpoint isn't where they need to be, that even though the the thought that you would schedule a game against a team that you thought would be better than maybe what they are now from a record standpoint will still resonate with the committee?
I think so, and I think they'll get there. I really do. I think Memphis will go on a tear, here at the end of the season. They always do. They always end up winning their conference championship. So, hey, they may not be in for an at-large, but I do think they'll get the automatic qualifying bid out of that league. But there's some great teams. We lost to South Florida out of that league on the road. The American Conference is very good, so I do think they'll finish strong.
Jerrod Calhoun with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When you look overall at the landscape of this new Pac-12 and you're putting schedules together, you don't have to give us the details because I know a lot of that is still behind the scenes, but do you kind of have a general sense of what your scheduling is going to look like next year? And does that mean you have to find more non-conference games for next season?
Yeah, for sure, Scotty. I think, like I said, I think scheduling is really critical to this. We're going to have to get 16 non-league games. Our belief is to go get 6 or 7, probably 7 quad 1, quad 2s in the non-league. We'll probably get some of those through some neutral sites. We'll get some of those through tournaments. Once you get your MTE and you get your 2 games in your MTE, we're also looking at a neutral site with some of the best mid-major teams in the country getting together on a Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday. So we'll have 4 there between our MTE and then this kind of deal that's being put in place right now. We've got to go to Memphis. That would be 5, and then we'll probably have to get 2 more. Also looking at possibly playing a game in Salt Lake at the Delta Center again against a quad 1 or quad 2. So, scheduling is going on right now. That along with the portal, you're trying to balance those 2 things really on a yearly basis.
So does that mean you try, because I think a lot of people feel like the season's over, then you start talking to your guys about hopefully retention, but I imagine that's been going on for a long time in trying to lock guys down to make sure that they're back for next year.
Yeah, I think that never ends, right? The constant communication, whether it's an agent, whether it's a parent, or with the student athlete, right? I think the best thing we can do is provide great experiences, right? And how you do that is, obviously coaching them, but building those relationships every day. And I think our community, the culture we have, the momentum that we have in our program, I don't think too many guys really want to leave. So then the missing piece is the rev share and also the NIL. So, you kind of constantly try to battle that as well.
Coach, appreciate it. We'll talk to you coming up on Saturday, but good luck against Memphis and this stretch run as well.
You got it, Scotty. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There he is, Jerrod Calhoun, head coach of the Utah State Aggies, as they have a non-conference game against the Memphis Tigers coming up on Saturday. That's right. Penny Hardaway, little Penny, will be in Logan, and then Utah State will be back there next year. So, the reason I brought up the scheduling thing is because there are teams that, like Utah State, so to speak, mid-major programs that have a really elite home court advantage, and there are teams out there that say, yeah, we're not going there. We want no part of that. And so it is very difficult to schedule non-conference games in Logan. But now you have to schedule more because you're going to a conference in the Pac-12 that will not have a high number of teams. So as he mentioned, he's got to schedule 15, 16 non-conference games. So that is, Utah State was about, I want to say, at 11 this year. So you have to add about 4 or 5 of those games. And that's bye games that you have to, come up with money to bring a team into Logan. That means playing non-conference games in, NBA arenas. That means using the Delta Center to try to bring a team in because you're going to have a hard time saying, we want you to come to Logan. Let's work out a home and home. Now, you were able to strike a deal with Memphis, which was awesome, but those are few and far between. So they've got to be really, really creative. And this is also a Utah State team that if they're able to hold on to some people, Adlon Elamine, I believe, is going to be a future superstar in the Mountain West Conference. I'm sure his DMs are already blowing up from teams across the country saying, hey, come here, we got you. We're going to come up with a lot of money. Mason Falslev will have another year of eligibility. There's going to be a lot of money coming his way as well. So it's a matter of trying to make sure you can raise money, you can get guys locked down for the upcoming season, and then you realize what you have. Then you go out and you build your schedule so that you can put that team in the best possible way to showcase them to the rest of the country. All right, we'll wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as we are live here at Minky Couture right here on the Zone.